Hello, almost vegan friends. I'm going to share with you a special recipe today. It won't be a recipe that can be necessarily shared between meat eaters and vegans alike unless they would like to eat something vegan. Today I'm going to share with you my vegan sausage recipe. In this bowl I have 3 cups of oats, quick cut oats, and I'll tell you later why those work better. 1/4 cup of Nutritional yeast flakes, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of sage, 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 2 teaspoons of minced onion, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. Now, I use quick cut oats, and you can also use regular oats. I've never used steel cut oats. I don't think those would work, but I use quick cut oats because they are a little smaller in size than the regular oats. So that works better than using the larger size, but they both work. If you have either one, you can use either one. I also put in a blender some of the seeds and the leaves that I use. This is 1 tablespoon of dried rosemary, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme leaves. I have a 1/2 cup of oats in there as well, a 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and a 1/2 teaspoon of fennel seeds. Now, if you would like, you don't have to blend this up, but it does give it a little better texture for your sausages. Now, if you don't put it in the blender, you will have big seeds and leaves in your food. So if you don't mind that, that's fine. And also the oats blended together also help the sausages come together when you actually make them. So I blend this together, and there it is blended. You probably could blend it a little more, but that's the level I blended it at for this recipe. I will add that later in my recipe, but it's nicely finely ground, but then it adds the flavor that is needed. So I guess you could use a mortar on as well. I'm going to mix together the oats and the other seasonings that I had in the bowl, the ones that were not ground in the food processor. Just mix that till it's thoroughly mixed. You want to make sure all the flavors are all through those oats. The good thing about oats is that you can eat them every day, unlike some other kind of sausages, right? I mean, you can have, this is like a savory oat recipe. So I'm going to put those ground oats and the other seasonings that I had in that food processor, and we're going to put that in with the other seasonings and oatmeal that I had. And so I'm just mixing that together, mixing that thoroughly together, making sure all the flavors are incorporated in. Now I'm going to add my wet ingredients. I'm going to add liquid smoke. This is the natural hickory flavor, but you can also add mesquite, or I know there's some apple and other flavors as well. This is a 1/2 teaspoon I'm using, but it's a total of 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke. I'm going to put some liquid aminos in as well. It's a 1/4 cup of liquid aminos. You can also use soy sauce. I have not used the coconut aminos. I'm sure you could use that as well, and nor have I used vegan Worcester sauce. So you might be able to use that as well if you don't want to use any type of soy. I actually used the last of my liquid aminos for this recipe. It's about 1/4 cup. That was a 1/2 cup measurement, so I filled it up halfway. Sorry about this. I'm adjusting. I used a 1/4 cup of water, and so I'm just mixing that. I don't want it to get real wet. I want it to be almost like a biscuit dough, so that when I press it together, it stays. So it has to be wet enough for that, but I don't want it to be, I use 2 tablespoons of oil here. I don't want it to be too saucy like a dough or a mix. I want it to be, you don't have to add that. That's very optional. It does just help the texture later on, but you could do well without it as well. So I'm mixing that. I'm probably going to add more water in, and I did find out later, even in my final product, it was actually a little dry, and I ended up having to add some more water in before I made the final sausage links or patties, whatever I did final. But you want to see how I'm mixing it together. You want to be careful how much water you put in. So I'm saying a 1/2 cup to a cup, but you just want to add that in gradually, just to make sure that you don't put too much water into it. It's just very important that you put just enough. I think that's another 1/4, and I'm just putting in a 1/2 of that just to see how much I need to mix it. Okay, so you're going to continue mixing. Again, it should be more like a biscuit dough, but make sure all those dry ingredients are incorporated and there are no dry ingredients left at the bottom. I did find out I needed to use more, and I actually needed to use more than what actually is there. So again, back to why I think oatmeal sausage is so great. It's a very cost effective, and if you're looking for something that you can feed your children and maybe freeze and use over time, this is a great recipe. It takes a little time, but it's great. Thumbs up. That's a good thing, but maybe just a tad more water. So I took out my pan, Pyrex pan, but you can use any type of pan. Now there's two methods of cooking. I'm going to show you this first way, and I'll tell you a second way later on. You just make them into, and those are actually a little big. Now one thing about oatmeal, when it expands and when it gets wet, it expands a little bit. So you might want to make them a little smaller. Mine were actually a little too big than I normally make. I'm normally able to make about 10 links and 10 round sausages. So you can do what you like. Now I'm putting them in the pan because I'm going to later cover them with vegetable broth mixed with some nutritional yeast, just a actual liquid mixture, and that's how it's going to cook at 350 in the oven. But you could also put this on a cookie sheet and cook it just like that for 15 minutes at 350 in the oven, and then cook them on top of your stovetop in a pan of boiled broth with the mixture I'm going to give you later on. You could also put that on top of your stove and also rehydrate it like that, and boil it like that. Both methods work well. It just depends on what you find easiest or what you prefer to do. It is take a little process here, but you might want to double the recipe, triple the recipe, whatever you feel like you need for your family. You could freeze them. They freeze very well. I freezed quite a bit when I was before I had my son, and was able to eat them after I had my son, and it worked out real well. So there it is. There's excuse my setup there. You see some of the way my camera is filming. I am learning how to film. So anyway, I have it in there, and I'm going to make the broth to go over it. So I'm going to put about a cup, 1 3/4 cup of broth, and that's about 1 can of vegetable broth, and you can also use the carton, whatever. But I also mix 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast in with that. And that's what gives it kind of a lighter color there, but it's more for flavor because it's going to grab those flavors in when it cooks. So it's definitely for flavor. So that's how the nutritional yeast it looks, and sometimes it's sold. Now I didn't use it. I actually got mine in bulk from a health food store, and I'll show you that also. But that's how the nutritional yeast looks. It's made from the Bragg's company, and also other companies make them as well. But I got mine in bulk from the health food store. So I'm also going to add some soy sauce on top, and like I said, you could use liquid aminos, you could use maybe Worcester sauce. I'm not sure about the flavor on that one, but vegan Worcester sauce, but I'm not sure about the flavor on that one. But this is for color, so I did add a few, and for flavor as well, I did add a few dashes of that. You can do that to taste. And then I just filled it up the rest with water, and to make sure that it's almost covering the top. I mean, there could be little pieces at the top open, but pretty much almost covering the top with that liquid. And we're going to put that in the oven at 350 for about 15 minutes. I covered it with aluminum foil, put it in the oven at 350 for about 15 minutes. Again, like you could bake it at 350 for 15 minutes on a cookie sheet, and then put it on the top, and put the broth on the top in a pan on the top, and then cook it on the top here. So this, I'm going to show you this method here. So I took that out the oven, and that's how they look, hot and steamy. But we are going to take one more step, and we're going to actually cook it with my scrambled tofu. My scrambled tofu recipe I got from Jill McIver. She is an awesome vegan cook on YouTube, and I'm going to share that recipe with you all also. But I also so I took that and I put that on the pan with my scrambled tofu, and just to bake it, kind of firm it up a little bit more, and just make it a little bit more sausage-like. And you'll see it when it comes out. but this is the stage. So there's always going to be a two-step process for this. Now also at this stage, you could also freeze that or refrigerate that, and when you take it out, you can cook it like on a pan, or you can also cook it on a skillet when you take it out. And I'll show you that later. I did that as well. So I'm going to put that in the oven. That was at 425 at the rate for the scrambled tofu for 15 minutes. And this is how they turned out. The scrambled tofu was awesome. And again, I'll have that video as a recipe on how I made that from Jill McIver's recipe. She's such a great vegan inspiration to my cooking. So vegan cook. So I'm just turning those around, and my camera's gonna finally go up, and yes, don't those look wonderful? Okay, so they may not look exactly like vegan sausages, but they do taste like it. My mom tried it, she loved them, and it's really, really good and really amazing and very healthy. So I just want to encourage you to try those, you know, I mean, and I'm going to show you the inside in a moment. Now, they may not look on the inside like a vegan. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen or paid attention to the inside of a regular sausage from my husband, but they're good. They are good. They're filling. It's oatmeal. You can eat oatmeal every day. Now, you might not be able to eat pork every day. You might not be able to eat, you know, some other meats every single day and be healthy, but you definitely can do oatmeal every day. So here's the next day. I took it out the fridge and I wanted to have some, so I just made it on my skillet, and I just browned them on my skillet and cooked them, and they turned out wonderful. I mean, you can brown them and they look great. Again, I made those circle ones a little too large, but and then I'm going to show you, I made some vegan pancakes, and I'll add the link to that. I got it from another great vegan cook on YouTube, but I had it with my scrambled tofu, and it was wonderful. Well, thank you for watching. My question of the day is, are you vegan or vegetarian, and how long have you been that? Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye-bye.